If you ask me, writing about an all-powerful god is kind of like writing about the CEO of a massive company. You know they're important, you know they make big decisions, but you have no real idea what they're like. And because of that, it's hard to make the reader care. Writing about your own dysfunctional family? That's easy. You know the arguments, the secrets, and the passive aggression. You know where the drama is. You see, most writers treat their gods like cosmic CEOs. This video is about teaching you how to treat them like your family. I'll break down my simple framework that takes your gods from being distant, untouchable concepts and turns them into flawed, manipulative, and deeply personal drivers of your plot. To start, we need to look at the pantheon you've already created and why they might feel more like a boring board of directors than a family on the verge of collapse. You know exactly what I'm talking about here. You might have spent months, maybe even years building this breathtaking world. You have your god of war, your goddess of wisdom, and your trickster of fate. They do look amazing on paper. But when you actually write them into your story, they feel distant. They're basically just cosmic set dressing. The god of war causes a war, but he does it off screen. The goddess of wisdom inspires your hero, but only as a vague feeling. Their conflicts are footnotes in a history book, leaving this god-sized hole right in the heart of your narrative. And it's the single biggest reason why your story, despite all your incredible world building, might feel emotionally shallow. The problem isn't that your lore isn't detailed enough. The problem is that we're writing about our gods as if they're abstract forces, not characters. We're writing lore, not drama. And that's what we're going to fix today. Because the solution isn't about adding more history or more complex powers. It's a simple shift in perspective that will change everything. And here it is. You need to stop thinking of your gods as gods and start thinking of them as bad parents. Let that sink in for a moment. This single idea is the key. Because when you make this shift correctly, your gods stop being boring concepts and become the most compelling source of conflict in your entire story. By the end of this video, you'll have a framework to turn your divine beings into sources of unforgettable emotional moments. Speaking of which, if you want a free guide on crafting those kinds of moments for all your characters, I've got my Emotional Waypoint Starter Kit, which you can grab via the link in the description below. So how do we actually build such gods I'm talking about? Well, it starts by giving our new framework a name and understanding why it works so well on a psychological level for the reader. Welcome to the Divine Dysfunctional Family Framework. The goal here isn't to make your gods human in a boring, mundane way. It's to use the universal patterns of family dynamics to make the divine feel emotionally real to your readers. This approach is incredibly powerful for creating personal stakes. Now, of course, if your story's core theme is about the terror of unknowable Lovecraftian entities, then this framework might not be for you. But for those of us who want our gods to feel personal and drive our character's emotional journey, this is a game changer. Why does this work so well? Well, it's simple. Your reader has never been a god. They don't know what it's like to forge a star or command the tides. But they have felt the sting of a parent's disappointment. They know the warmth of their approval or the cold frustration of their neglect. Many also understand what it's like to have a sibling who's the favorite. These are universal human experiences wired into our brains. When a god stops acting like an abstract force and starts acting like a manipulative father or a favoritist mother, the conflict is no longer just lore, it becomes raw, relatable drama. Let me give you an example. A god of the harvest who decrees a famine is a boring plot device. But a god of the harvest who withholds the rain because he's disappointed in his children's lack of gratitude? That's a character. That's a story waiting to happen, because suddenly the famine isn't a random event. It's a passive-aggressive punishment from a parent who feels unappreciated. The stakes become personal and the conflict becomes emotional. Your protagonist isn't just fighting a drought anymore, they are dealing with a cosmic-level family dispute. It becomes about jealousy, pride, neglect, and love. The things that actually make stories interesting. So now that you understand the power of this framework, how do you actually use it? What does a bad divine parent actually look like on the page? Well, the Divine Dysfunctional Family Framework typically manifests in three powerful classic ways. Let me break down the blueprints for each one so you can see which archetype fits your story best. First up, we have the simplest and maybe the most common archetype, the neglectful parent, which I like to call the empty throne. This isn't an evil god, it's an absent one. They created the world, set the rules, and then got distracted. Maybe they're busy with other cosmic projects, maybe they're just bored, or maybe they believe in a kind of tough love parenting. Whatever the reason, they are not on the throne when their children need them. This creates a massive power vacuum in your world, forces your mortal characters to grow up fast, to create their own morality, and to find their own purpose in a universe that feels indifferent. The central question for characters in this kind of story isn't how do I please my god, it's how do we survive now that we're on our own. This archetype is perfect for stories about self-determination, free will, and mortals forging their own destiny in the silence of the heavens. Next we have the polar opposite, the manipulative parent, or the cosmic chess master. This god is always involved, but their love is entirely conditional. They see their mortal children not as beings to be nurtured, but as pawns in their own cosmic game of chess, designed to prove their own intelligence and power. Every blessing is a transaction, every prophecy is a form of gaslighting, designed to push their children in a specific direction. The perfect example of this is the Greek pantheon. Zeus wasn't evil, he was just a deeply insecure and selfish patriarch whose whims created heroes and monsters in equal measure. This archetype is an incredible engine for plots fueled by intrigue, betrayal, and rebellion. Here, your protagonist isn't just fighting a dark lord anymore, they are trying to escape the suffocating control of a parent who sees them as an extension of their own ego. And finally, we have my personal favorite for creating instant world-level conflict, the favoritist parent, which creates the golden child and the scapegoat. This archetype doesn't just pick a favorite child, they pick a favorite people. They split the world into two camps. One group of mortals is the golden child, receiving all the blessings, the best land, the clearest prophecies. The other group is the scapegoat, blamed for every problem and starved of divine attention. This allows you to build entire societal conflicts like wars, class struggles, or religious disputes that are all rooted in a primal relatable dynamic of sibling rivalry. It immediately gives both sides a powerful emotionally charged motivation. One side fights to maintain their privileged status, and the other fights for the recognition they've always been denied. It's a brilliant way to make your world's politics feel deeply personal. So you see, you have these three blueprints: the absent parent, the controlling parent, and the parent who plays favorites. But having a blueprint is one thing, because here is the single biggest trap writers fall into with this framework. They hear bad parent and they write a one-note villain. They make the god cruel for the sake of being cruel. And that's just as boring as a distant, all-powerful god. The way you avoid this trap is by defining their motivation through the lens of a flawed parent. You see, these gods don't have to be evil. They are acting out of a twisted, recognizable human emotion, like fear, insecurity, or a misguided sense of love. Their flaw is their justification. They believe they are doing the right thing even when they're causing immense suffering. That's what makes them complex, and that's also what makes them terrifying. But let's make this real. How does this actually sound on the page? The manipulative parent, the cosmic chess master, doesn't show up and say, "Go do my evil bidding, my little pawn." No, they sound like this. "I know it's a lot to ask of you, but I see a greatness in you that no one else does. I'm the only one who's ever truly believed in you. Don't you trust me?" Now, you see that one? It's not a command, it's emotional leverage. It's guilt. It makes the protagonist's choice to obey or defy so much harder. Or take a look at the favoritist parent, who doesn't declare, "I hate your people." That's way too simple. Instead, they say to their golden child, within earshot of the scapegoat, "It's a shame the others can't be as enlightened as you. You make me so proud." The sting of that isn't an open hatred, it's in the quiet, passive-aggressive alienation. It's a praise for one that is meant as condemnation of the other. And the neglectful parent, when finally confronted by mortals after centuries of silence, they don't draw with divine fury. They might seem genuinely confused. I might say, "But I gave you free will. I gave you a world of challenges so you could become strong on your own. Wasn't that enough?" You see, their flaw isn't malice here. It's a fundamental cosmic level lack of empathy. They genuinely don't understand what the problem is. Even Tolkien, the grandfather of our genre, used this. The Valar and the Silmarillion are classic neglectful parents. They help create the world with the best of intentions, but their ultimate decision to withdraw to their own perfect realm and remain distant has catastrophic consequences for everyone left behind in Middle-earth. Their flaw isn't evil, it's a divine lack of perspective. They are so far removed from the struggle of mortals that they cannot see the damage their absence causes. So now you have a god with a blueprint and a voice. You know their flaw and you know how they justify their questions. The next logical question is, how do you use this character to actually start a story? How does their parental flaw become the spark that ignites your plot? Well, this is the moment we finally bridge the gap between your incredible world building and a plot that actually moves forward. Because you have this complex flawed god now we need to make them do something. And this is where I use a tool I call the Divine Catalyst. A catalyst is a single pivotal event where your god's specific parental flaw directly crashes into your protagonist's life. This is your story's inciting incident or a major turning point that forces your hero to act. It's the moment the cosmic family drama becomes personal. Let's look at how this works for each archetype with 3 examples. For the neglectful parent, the catalyst could be an unanswered prayer. Imagine your protagonist's village is dying from a plague. They perform all the rites, they beg the god of healing for help, and they get nothing but silence in return. That silence is the catalyst. It's the moment your protagonist realizes that no one is coming to save them. They have to find their own solution, and that decision to seek a mortal cure, to challenge the heavens, whatever it is, that's the start of your story. For the manipulative parent, the catalyst could be a poisoned gift. The god appears and bestows a magic sword upon your protagonist. It's a huge honor, but the gift comes with strings attached. The sword, they later discover, can only reach its full power if it tastes the blood of someone the wielder loves. You see, the god didn't just give them a weapon, they gave them an impossible choice. The catalyst isn't the sword itself, it's the moment the protagonist understands the terrible price of their parents' love. And for the favoritist parent, the catalyst could be an act of public injustice. Your protagonist and the rival both perform a great deed, but at the grand ceremony, the god publicly blesses only the rival, the golden child. The god showers them with praise, while your hero is left standing in the shadows ignored. That public humiliation, that blatant unfairness, that could be the catalyst. It sparks a quest not just for glory, but for justice. It forces your protagonist to question the entire system they've been taught to revere. You see, in every case, the divine catalyst takes the god's abstract flaw and makes it into a concrete problem for your hero. It's a tool that connects your grand cosmic ideas to a character-driven plot. It's about understanding that the most epic conflicts are just intimate human dramas scaled up to the size of a universe. Suddenly you have a story with a soul. And that is a story that will resonate with readers on a level that no amount of intricate lore ever could. But once you have all that powerful central conflict, how do you build an entire novel around it without getting lost? Well, that's the exact answer I give in my next video here, where I walk you through the step-by-step framework I use to outline a fantasy novel from scratch. You're ready to turn your killer idea into a finished story? Click here.